Ram just made an announcement that could very well be a game changer in 2025. The automotive industry has been buzzing lately, and not in a good way. Most automakers are struggling to sell cars. Ram, in particular, is in such a tough spot that even some of its executives have started jumping ship. In response, the company recently unveiled a massive price reduction, and it's causing quite a stir, especially among competitors like Ford and GM. This bold move might not only help Ram get back on its feet, but it could also allow them to snatch a serious chunk of market share from their rivals. So, how big is this price cut? What does it mean for consumers? And for Ram's future? Buckle up, because this might be the start of a wild ride. It wasn't long ago that Stellantis and its brands were at the top of the automotive world, practically owning the roads. They had it all: sleek Chrysler sedans gliding in style, rugged Jeeps built for the wild, and thunderous Dodge muscle cars, turning highways into drag strips. But fast forward to today, and it's like they've hit a massive pothole. Stellantis looks stuck, unable to gain traction in a market that's evolving fast. Take Jeep, for instance. It used to be the go-to brand for adventurers, synonymous with freedom, exploration, and rugged terrain. You'd see Jeeps in every national park commercial and outdoor gear ad. But things have changed drastically. Jeep sales have plummeted a jaw-dropping 44% since 2018. That's nearly half its customer base gone in just a few years. And Jeep isn't alone in its downfall. Dodge, once the king of muscle cars, has seen its dominance evaporate. Back in the glory days, especially around 2013, the brand was cranking out legends like the Charger and Challenger, cars that didn't just drive, they roared. They weren't just vehicles, they were cultural icons. But now, it's like someone pulled the emergency brake on the whole operation. Sales have nosedived by 67%, leaving us wondering, where did all the muscle car fans go? Then there's Chrysler, a story that feels more like a slow heartbreak. Chrysler wasn't just another car brand. It stood for American ingenuity, luxury, and forward-thinking design. These were the cars you'd see leading parades or rolling up to black tie events. Today, though, the brand feels like it's stuck in the slow lane, barely surviving in a market being reshaped by electric vehicles and high-tech innovation. So what's behind Stellantis' downward spiral? Honestly, you don't need to be a car expert to see the problem. Pricing. Stellantis has long been known for slapping steep price tags on its vehicles, and now that reputation is coming back to bite them. Take the Ram 1500 Tungsten, for example. Sure, it's a more luxurious version of a pickup truck, but at the end of the day, it's still just a truck, not some groundbreaking new vehicle. Yet, walk into a dealership and you'll see a price tag just north of $100,000. For a truck, that's not just a big spend. It's practically an investment. And most consumers just aren't buying it anymore. And it's not just the trucks. Stellantis has a pricing problem across the board. Once celebrated for offering rugged, affordable off-road adventures, Jeeps now come with price tags that scream luxury weekend retreat, rather than let's hit the trails. SUVs, which should be accessible and family-friendly, are now creeping into luxury brand territory. Even Dodge sedans, known for offering muscle at a budget-friendly price, seem to be leaning more toward premium price tags than horsepower. The issue isn't limited to just a few models, it's system-wide. The crossovers and compact SUVs, which have become the bread and butter of most automakers, are now priced like luxury vehicles. Somewhere along the line, Stellantis seems to have forgotten who these vehicles are really for. These aren't supposed to be niche luxury rides. They're supposed to be practical, affordable cars for real people living real lives. Now think about the customers they're alienating. Picture a young family searching for their first SUV. They're not after anything flashy, just something safe, roomy, reliable, and above all, affordable. Or imagine a first-time truck buyer, a contractor or weekend DIYer who just needs a solid, hard-working pickup. They walk into a Stellantis dealership, take one look at the price tags, and turn right back around, probably faster than a Dodge Hellcat at a green light. Instead, they'll head over to Ford or Chevy, where the pricing is more down-to-earth. Maybe even Toyota, known for balancing affordability with rock-solid reliability. In essence, Stellantis has priced itself out of its own market. Everyday customers, the ones who built these brands in the first place, now feel like they're being shut out. And with competitors offering equally good or better vehicles without the luxury-level pricing, it's no wonder Stellantis sales have taken such a nosedive. So how are they responding? Well, in a move that's got the entire auto industry buzzing, Stellantis just dropped a bombshell. They're slashing prices across their entire lineup. And this isn't just some marketing gimmick. We're talking real, substantial cuts, up to 35% off. That's not a small trim. That's lopping off nearly a third of the price. Let that sink in for a second. And the best part? This isn't some far-off future plan. It's happening, and it's happening soon. Beginning in the second quarter of 2025, these price drops will start rolling out across all Stellantis brands. Take that infamous Ram 1500 Tungsten, the fully loaded truck that used to carry a jaw-dropping $100,000 price tag. With this new strategy, it's coming down to around $65,000. Suddenly, it's no longer just a luxury showpiece. It's competitively priced, sitting right next to trucks from Ford, Chevy, and GMC. But this isn't just about looking good on paper. Stellantis knows the truck and SUV market is one of the most fiercely competitive arenas in the auto world. Ford and GM have held court for years. This price shift is Stellantis stepping up and saying, we're still in this fight, and we want a bigger share of the pie. Honestly, this is great news, not just for Stellantis, but for everyday buyers too. Lower MSRPs don't just sound nice. They make a real difference. Smaller price tags translate to lower monthly payments, better financing options, and, for a lot of families, vehicles that finally feel within reach again. It's the end of sticker shock and maybe the beginning of a comeback for Stellantis and for the customers they're trying to win back. Of course, not everyone is going to be thrilled about Stellantis price cuts, especially not those who just bought a brand new Dodge or Jeep SUV at full price. The sudden drop in value is bound to cause some serious unease among recent buyers. Imagine dropping $75,000 on a shiny new SUV, only to find out a few months later that it's now worth $25,000 less. That kind of depreciation isn't just disappointing. It's a financial gut punch. Many of these buyers went in expecting their investment to at least hold steady for a few years, or at the very least appreciate gradually. That assumption helped justify the steep monthly payments. So when reality hits and they see the resale value tank overnight, it leaves them wondering whether they made the right call. The frustration is understandable, and the emotional sting is real. After all, no one likes feeling like they overpaid, especially not by tens of thousands of dollars. The only real way to soften the blow? Hold on to the car. Drive it for years. Rack up the miles. Stretch that investment over time until the value you get from a vehicle helps balance out the value you lost through early depreciation. It's a classic long-term play, and while not ideal for everyone, it's a practical path forward. This whole situation serves as a wake-up call for future buyers too. Quick depreciation is real, and it's something you have to factor into your decision-making. Before signing the papers, you need to ask yourself, am I planning to keep this car for the long haul? If the answer is no, you might want to think twice. But let's be clear, Stellantis isn't doing this to frustrate loyal customers. They're doing it to survive. And when you zoom in on Ram, it becomes even more obvious. Ram trucks have always had this larger-than-life persona. They're the trucks that show up to the job site looking like they're ready to do damage, but still clean up nice enough to hit the steakhouse after. For years, Ram was the go-to for anyone looking for that perfect mix of brute strength, dependability, and swagger. Lately, though, Ram seems to have developed a new hobby, pricing themselves right out of relevance. Some of these truck prices are downright outrageous. Instead of being tools of the trade or adventure-ready rigs, they're starting to feel more like showroom trophies, shiny, expensive, and maybe just a little too precious for actual work or off-roading. Meanwhile, Ram's rivals haven't been sitting around. Ford and General Motors have been grinding, adapting, and staying aggressive. Ford's F-150 Lightning has been riding the electric wave, offering Tesla-level tech with a more down-to-earth, truck-loving attitude. GM hasn't been shy either, rolling out a lineup of EVs that blend futuristic design with practical utility. And they've been playing it smart on pricing, too, offering attractive deals and incentives that are hard to ignore. Remember 2024? It was basically a truck-buying paradise. The pricing war between Ford and GM felt like a heavyweight title fight. But instead of punches, they were throwing out discounts, cashback offers, and financing deals. It was a full-blown buyer's market. Walk into a Ford dealership, test drive an F-Series, then stroll into a GM lot and say, all right, beat that. And they probably did. For consumers, it was like Black Friday. Every day, salespeople practically rolled out the red carpet just to get your signature. In that kind of market, Stellantis couldn't afford to sit on the sidelines with sky-high prices. They needed to make a move, and that's exactly what this price drop represents. A signal that they're ready to compete again. A signal that Ram, Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler aren't finished yet. Let's talk about Stellantis. Oh man, where do we even start? While Ford and GM were duking it out in a full-blown pricing war, Stellantis was basically just watching from the sidelines. No big promotions, no splashy discounts, no aggressive marketing. It was like they saw how intense the competition was getting and decided they'd rather grab a bucket of popcorn than step into the ring. But here's the thing. When you're in the cutthroat world of trucks and SUVs, sitting still is the worst possible strategy. This is a segment where every single customer is a battle, and Stellantis didn't even show up to fight. Naturally, they pay the price. While Ford and GM were racking up sales and winning over more and more buyers, Stellantis just sat back and watched its numbers drop like a stone. That old saying, you snooze, you lose? Stellantis practically wore out the snooze button. Now, though, it seems like they're finally waking up. And not just with a cup of coffee. They're slamming the alarm clock and getting straight to work with an aggressive, attention-grabbing plan to slash prices by as much as 35%. It's a bold move and a necessary one. Stellantis seems to have realized that if they want to stay relevant in this ultra-competitive market, they need to offer something truly compelling. And fast. A few months ago, they dropped some pretty eye-opening numbers. According to their own reports, Stellantis saw a sharp decline in global vehicle shipments. In the third quarter alone, shipments were down 20% compared to the same period last year. But zoom in on North America, and the situation looks even worse. Shipments there plunged by a staggering 36%. That's not just a dip, that's a nosedive. But here's where it gets really interesting. While shipments fell off a cliff, the actual sales numbers didn't drop quite as drastically. During the same quarter, Stellantis reported a 15% decline in sales. Sure, that's still a significant drop, but it's nowhere near the 36% collapse in shipments. So what's going on? Why the big gap between what's being shipped and what's actually being sold? It boils down to a few key shifts in strategy. First, Stellantis has been taking a hard look at its product lineup. They're trimming the fat, cutting back on underperforming models, and focusing more heavily on the vehicles they believe will actually move the needle. It's a classic quality over quantity play, and in a market this cutthroat, it makes sense to go lean and strategic. Second, dealerships have gotten a whole lot smarter with how they handle inventory. The old approach was simple. Flood the lot with as many cars as possible and hope the right buyer walks through the door. But that strategy's dead. Dealers are playing it safe now, accepting only the vehicles they know will sell. Nobody wants to be stuck with overpriced models just sitting on the lot, collecting dust, and losing value by the day. And let's be clear, this isn't just a North American problem for Stellantis. This is a global issue. The shipment drop-offs weren't confined to the US and Canada. They took hits across the board, from Asia-Pacific and China to India, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. In other words, this is a company-wide wake-up call, not just a regional misstep. That's a lot of ground to cover, but it really puts into perspective just how much Stellantis is up against right now. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. The automotive world is in the middle of a full-blown transformation. Supply chain issues are still lingering. Consumer behavior is evolving faster than ever, and electric vehicles are flipping the old playbook on its head. To survive, let alone thrive, Stellantis needs to stop treading water and start riding this wave. Because if they don't, they'll get pulled under by the undertow. Meanwhile, their rivals? They're not just keeping up, they're stealing the spotlight. Ford and GM are dazzling consumers with sleek, futuristic EVs packed with cutting-edge tech. These aren't just vehicles, they're rolling showcases of innovation. Step inside one of their latest models, and you half expect a voice to say, "Welcome aboard, Captain." It's that advanced. And Stellantis? Well, they're still leaning heavily on older models that once dominated the roads, but are starting to feel like relics. Take Ram trucks, for example. Man, this one stings a bit. Ram used to be the symbol of blue-collar toughness. Work hard, play harder, in truck form. But now, they're drifting further from what made them iconic, and it's showing. One of the biggest hits to their brand identity? Saying goodbye to the legendary Hemi V8. That engine wasn't just a power plant. It was a personality. The deep, guttural growl. The sheer brute force. For truck lovers, owning a Hemi wasn't just about towing capacity. It was a source of pride, a badge of honor. And now it's being replaced by something, well, different. The twin-turbo Hurricane engine is impressive, no doubt, technically advanced, fuel-efficient, and powerful. But emotionally, it doesn't hit the same. It's like trading in your beat-up leather jacket for a shiny windbreaker. Sure, the new one's more practical, but does it feel the same? Here's where Ford deserves some real credit. Remember when they introduced their EcoBoost V6 engines? They didn't just rip the V8 out of the lineup and hope for the best. They were smart about it. They kept the beloved 5.0-liter Coyote V8 around, letting customers choose between cutting-edge efficiency and classic muscle. That was genius. If you wanted modern, high-tech power, EcoBoost was there for you. But if you still crave that old-school rumble and raw feel, Ford had your back too. That's the kind of flexibility buyers appreciate. It says, we hear you. We know not everyone's ready to let go of what they love. Ford nailed that transition. And Stellantis? They're missing the mark. They've taken a much riskier route, ditching the Hemi altogether without offering a true emotional alternative. No bridge, no safety net, just a sharp turn into unfamiliar territory. Why would they do that? Well, it's probably right out of the corporate playbook. First, fuel efficiency. Let's be honest, Hemis have never been praised for sipping gas. If anything, they chugged it like it was game day. Second, emissions. With increasingly strict regulations, especially from California and the EPA, it's getting harder and harder to justify an engine that guzzles fuel and pumps out more CO2 than the competition. And finally, there's production. Fewer engine types means simpler manufacturing, fewer logistical headaches, and lower costs. For the bean counters, it's a dream. But for the diehard fans, it's a gut punch. On paper, sure, it all checks out. Engineers are probably nodding along, accountants are doing the math, and environmentalists are giving a quiet cheer. But here's the thing. None of that soothes the sting for Hemi fans. Why? Because the Hemi wasn't just an engine. It was an experience. Picture it. A Ram 1500 cruising down the road, its deep, guttural growl rolling out of dual exhaust pipes like thunder. Heads turned, not because the truck wanted attention, but because it demanded it. That sound wasn't just noise, it was a declaration. It said, this truck doesn't play games. For Ram owners, the Hemi wasn't just under the hood, it was under their skin. Driving one meant being part of a tribe, a kind of muscle-bound brotherhood with the best soundtrack in town. Now, there's the Hurricane, the new kid, the whiz-bang, twin-turbo, efficiency machine. It's clean, it's strong, it's smart. It probably took engineers countless sleepless nights to get it just right. But here's the rub. It's quiet. Too quiet. It whispers, I have power, while Hemi used to roar it. And for longtime Ram loyalists, that whisper feels like silence. Yes, the Hurricane may outperform the Hemi in numbers, but it doesn't stir the soul the same way. It's the difference between playing a perfect piano solo and shredding a guitar amp until your heart skips a beat. To be fair, Ram's decision to retire the Hemi probably does make sense. Long-term, fuel efficiency, emission standards, regulatory pressures. They're all real, and they're not going away. The math checks out. The logic is solid. But that doesn't take the edge off for fans. Because the Hemi wasn't just a powertrain. It was a legacy. And walking away from that kind of legacy, that's not just a business pivot. It's the end of an era. And right now, with Ram and Stellantis already under fire for pricing, outdated models, and slow responses to market trends, this dramatic shift couldn't come at a more fragile moment. But maybe, just maybe, these recent price cuts are the turning point they've been waiting for. So, what does this all mean for the industry? If Stellantis pulls off this bold plan, it could spark a seismic shift. Ford and GM aren't going to sit back and watch. If Stellantis starts gobbling up market share with aggressively priced trucks and SUVs, you can bet their competitors will come out swinging. That means a full-blown price war might be just around the corner. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a little fireworks? But here's the twist. Price wars aren't always doom and gloom. While they might put pressure on profit margins, they can also be a huge win for consumers. Picture walking into a dealership and realizing you can suddenly afford the kind of truck or SUV that used to be way out of reach. The market turns into this high-stakes, high-reward playground where buyers hold all the cards. Of course, there's always a but. Automakers can't just slash prices and call it a day. They need to strike the right balance between affordability and quality. If Stellantis cuts too deep and starts sacrificing reliability or craftsmanship, it could backfire in a big way. The goal isn't to make the cheapest truck on the lot. It's to make one that's worth every penny, even at a lower price. And let's not forget the middlemen in all of this, the dealerships. They're the front lines, and they have a huge role to play. If Stellantis wants this strategy to work, they'll need their dealers on board. Not adding hidden fees, not tacking on unnecessary add-ons, and not gouging customers in high-demand markets. This plan has to feel genuine to the buyers, or it's dead on arrival. You know the routine. You walk in thinking you're about to score an amazing deal, and then, bam, suddenly there are all these surprise fees that weren't part of the original offer. Classic bait and switch. That's exactly where Stellantis has a real opportunity. If they can get their dealers on board with this price-cutting plan and make sure they don't pad the prices with those sneaky markups, they might actually win big with customers. In short, Stellantis' move has the potential to send shockwaves through the automotive industry. Sure, price wars might lead to slimmer profit margins, but they also make cars more accessible, which is a massive win for consumers. Still, automakers need to tread carefully. Cutting costs is great, but it cannot come at the expense of the quality people expect. It's all about balance. For Stellantis, the biggest hurdle will be the dealerships. They need to be more than just compliant. They need to be enthusiastic about the plan. That means no surprise fees, no market adjustments, and no games. Stellantis might need to sweeten the deal with incentives, maybe bonuses or recognition for dealerships that stick to the pricing playbook. Because if they can lock that in, Stellantis becomes a powerhouse destination, premium vehicles at palatable prices. And let's not forget the dealers themselves. Yes, lower sticker prices mean slimmer profit per sale, but higher volume can make up for it. If demand surges, they'll be moving cars faster, building loyalty, and creating lasting customer relationships. And that's how you win the long game. This isn't just about slashing prices. It's about rebuilding trust, revitalizing the Stellantis brand, and sending a loud message to the market. You can have both quality and affordability. Whether it's a Jeep Grand Cherokee at a more realistic price or a fully loaded Ram 1500 that doesn't break the bank, this could be a turning point for shoppers who've long admired from afar. So what do you think? Can Stellantis pull it off? Will this be the comeback story of a decade, or just another short-lived headline? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. And hey, if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Still curious? Click the video on your screen right now to dive into more insight and analysis on the future of the auto industry. Catch you in the next one.